Hi, it's Lori from Coast to Coast Craft Girls coming to you from the West Coast. Today I wanted to share a really nice card that I made for my husband using this. I've always wanted to kind of try creating this galaxy background and with the different ink blending techniques, and I had so much fun and I love how it came out. And then of course the moon, love you to the moon and back, is perfect sentiment, and I love that moon stamp. I played around with it a lot with a bunch of different types of heat embossing to try and find a color combination that I liked, and I really like what I came up with. So let me show you how it's made. Okay, so we're going to start with our card bases. So this is a 5x7 top fold card, and I just scored the front to create a fold back. I actually didn't have a 5x7 card, and I didn't have 14-inch wide paper, so I cut, this is 5x7, and then this one I cut 5x8, and you can see that it's glued right there. So I scored at 3.5 and at 7 and then just glued that together. And this is the way you can create larger card bases if you don't have them or if you don't have the paper. So that creates a 5x7 top fold card, and then I just scored the front. I'm going to use it in a landscape mode this way. And then I needed the same thing in basically 4x6. So this is 12x4, and again, I did not have 12-inch wide. Well, I did have 12-inch wide paper, but I was using 8.5 by 11 cardstock. So this is 4x6, that piece, and then this piece was 4x7, and I scored at 1 inch and at 4 inches. So there's 3, 3, and then that 1-inch tab right there, and I created another fold back card. Now this card is going to go onto here like this, and I'm not going to glue it together yet because I got to put my back on, or my matte and layers first, but it's going to go on essentially like that, and then I'm going to get my kind of double Z or whatever card like that. But I need to create my background layers, so I've got some of them done, but because I needed a bunch of them. But this is watercolor card, and I wanted to create this nice galaxy background, and I needed this galaxy background because I thought that would be a great background for my moon. So on watercolor card, so I'll show you how to do it on this smaller piece, but I've done it exactly the same way on these larger pieces. So I'm going to take Magenta, Midnight Violet, and Mystic Lake, and you just get some color down, like, okay, I'm just going to put some magenta in there, get some Midnight Violet. This one's hard to get open. There we go. And some Mystic Lake. It's a little bit easier on the larger pieces of paper, but it does take this. It is time consuming, so I did the large ones ahead of time. So you do them like that. There's my 3 colors. Now I take a midnight blue. This is an opaque pigment ink from Spectrum Noir, and I'm just going to kind of bring blue in around and around those colors. Okay. And then I'm going to come in with a black. This is a Noir Black, and again an opaque pigment, and I'm just going to come around the edges and really, because we're making, you know, a galaxy, it's supposed to be space, you want it fairly dark. And just kind of come around all those colors, but I want some of those colors shining through. Now for me, I think I want to come back with a little more purple. Maybe a little more green, actually. And just kind of play with it. Yeah, maybe a little more purple too. Just kind of deepen some of those colors. Get them good mix with that black. That's good. I like that. Okay. So I'm done with my inks for now. Get these out of the way. Now I'm going to take, I've got this shimmering watercolor pad from Crafter's Companion, and I'm going to use that for some splatters. I'm going to use, it's called Starlight, and it's this kind of silver. Let me just get it wet. This is just water. I've got my little paintbrush, and you just get it nice and good and wet. And I'm going to use that just to splatter onto that piece. That looks great. Okay, I'm going to set those aside so that looks really cool. And I've got 3 more that I did. So this is the 5x7. It's going to go in the back. This is the 4x6 for the front. This is the going to go on the front here. This is going to be partially covered up, but that's okay. This is going to go on here. This is going to go in the back. And this is for that piece right there. It's still a little bit wet, so it's going to go like that. Okay? And then there's extra pieces here and here, and I'm just going to leave those black. I've got some black matte layers that I'm going to put around this card. But I'm going to let that dry because this is still a little bit wet. That watercolor card takes a minute to dry. So we're going to set those to the side, and I'm going to work on my moon. So I'm going to use a heat embossing technique for my moon, and I'm going to use the Altenew To the Moon stamp set. And so we're going to start with the base layer of my moon. Just get that on there. So I'm going to stamp that with a this is a Spectrum Noir metallic pigment ink, and it's platinum is the color, and I'm going to stamp that back layer in platinum. So let me try and get this over here so you can see. And this is an opaque pigment ink, so it stays wet for a bit, and I'm going to heat emboss that. This is just clear embossing powder. I did not hit this with my little cornstarch, my embossing magic or whatever the heck they call it, the anti-static pad, because I'm going to die cut it out anyway. So, and then I'm going to use my heat tool. Now before I put that away, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do this again on the other side. I'm not sure I'm going to use it, but I'll show you in a minute why. Now I'm going to use my second layer of my moon. And I'm going to stamp this one with Versamark ink. And then I'm going to heat emboss it with, I'll show you the embossing powder in a minute. And this is, let me put the lid on, I'll show you what it is. This is Liquid Platinum Embossing Powder. I just got it off Amazon. I'll go ahead and heat emboss that. Now I'm getting some nice texture into that moon. Now I've got my third layer of my moon. And I'm not going to do this one. I'm just going to leave that one plain. So now I've got my third layer. Make sure this is cooled off. I'm also going to stamp this one with Versamark. And this one I'm going to heat emboss with copper. It's copper embossing powder. Now I'm going to take this, and I've got a circle nesting die that's basically the same size as that, and I'm just going to cut each of those out because I want it to be a nice perfect circle. Okay, now along with that, my moon, I stamped a sentiment from this. I love you to the moon and back, and I stamped that also in the platinum and then heat embossed it in clear embossing powder. But I want it to stand out just a little bit more, so I'm going to take my platinum ink pad and I'm just going to run it along the edge, because I want to do this because then it will match perfectly. And we're just going to run it kind of, I don't know if you can see that, but just at a slight angle. And it doesn't show up very well, but like that. However, let me show it to you. When you put it on a black piece of card, see how much that shows up? That's what I'm after. Okay, so now I'm going to build my card. So let me get all my mats and layers in here. And then I cut black pieces just for, so this is going to go in the very back like so on that, and then I'll put my Galaxy watercolor card on top, and same for all of the rest. So let me go ahead and glue these up. Now I cut these just so just a tiny fraction bit. So these are 4x3 and this is 4x6, and I cut them just short of that because I didn't want a lot of that white to show. I didn't want them overlapping, but I didn't want a ton of that white to show. So these are going to go this way and this way. So let's go ahead and put these pieces on. So this one's going to go on the front of there. This one's going to go on the front of there. This is going to go on the back of there. And this is going to go on the back of this one. And you can decide how you want them, you know, which orientation you want them. And these I cut just like 1/4 of an inch smaller. So this is 3.5 by 5, the outside card, the black, and so this one is 3.25 by 4 3/4. And this one, its back panel is 5 by 7, so this is 4 3/4 by 6 3/4. I usually do a 1/4 inch mat layer. Now we're going to put our card together. So as I said, this is going to go on top of this, and I'm going to put this so these two are essentially touching but not overlapping. Okay, so it's going to go just like that. So I'm going to put glue on here and on here. And then see, my card opens like this, and I've got just those black panels on the inside, but otherwise I've got that nice pretty galaxy that you can see on the inside and from the outside. And then I'm going to put my moon, and I've got my sentiment. My sentiment's going to go kind of down here, and my moon's going to go right up here on the front. Now I cut this extra moon because I'm thinking I might do a bit of a, almost like a shadow, with just a little bit of that other moon showing in the back. And I can't decide if I'm going to use it or not, so let's see what we think. I think I am going to use it, but just with just a very, very light shadow. Yeah, I like that. And then we're all done. We open it up. And my original thought was I was going to leave this kind of blank for, to write on. But then it looked too, I don't know, not right to me. So I think what I'm going to do instead is to be able to write a message. I'm going to take my circle die. So to follow along with my little moon theme, I use that same circle die to create just a little white circle. And I think I'm going to put that right in the middle here. And then I can sign my name there. And it kind of won't show, but when you open it up, it'll definitely kind of follow along with that same moon theme. So I think that's what I'm going to do. So I'll glue that on, but I'm going to write on it first. So I'll just keep it with the card. But love how that turned out. A lot of fun. So thanks for watching.